Yo, what is up guys? Fair here, and today I am bringing you a Basil Hawkins theory, specifically talking about his powers and why he may be able to hold his own against Luffy and Zoro at the same time. Now, I don't think he will have the means to beat them either. I feel like this is going to be a stalemate. Now, before everyone goes crazy, let me explain. The only reason I'm saying this is because he's currently in an alliance with Kaido, which I will expand on later in this video. If that wasn't the case, then I would 100% agree that Zoro and Luffy would definitely defeat Hawkins. Now, I think everyone is of the assumption that Hawkins should get absolutely destroyed because, let's be honest, Luffy is looking like the strongest supernova or the strongest worst generation member, not including Blackbeard because he's a Yonko right now. Kid could be above him as well, but right now, based on feats, Luffy has proven himself to be #1. So Hawkins not only has to deal with Luffy, but also Zoro as well. And Zoro is the same individual that said he wanted to go up against Fujitora during Dressrosa. Again, I mentioned in my review that if Zoro and Luffy tag team against someone, the only people in the verse right now that would give them a problem is a commander of Yonko's crew and above. Anything lower, Luffy and Zoro will probably win that fight. I could even argue right now that even the admirals would not have it easy with what Hawkins has to go up against. And honestly speaking, I don't think any of those guys behind Hawkins are like supernova level or anything relevant that could change the tide of the battle, so they shouldn't really be a factor in this fight at the moment. But given that Hawkins' crew does surround the idea of magic, they might not necessarily be physically overwhelming, but they might have trickster like abilities like illusions and things like that, things that are hard to deal with when it comes to physicality. Now, I've seen a lot of people say that Drake might show up to help Hawkins since we do know there are some Kaido affiliates in the factories or close to the factories, but it seems like Hawkins is a bit covert about this, so I don't think that's gonna happen. But it makes you wonder if Hawkins actually read the newspaper about Luffy taking out 2 commanders of Yonko's crew and his rise as the 5th emperor, because Hawkins is going up against a lot of firepower right now. It's bad enough that Luffy is there, but you also have Zoro there as well, which is, you know, the closest person to Luffy in power level within the Straw Hats. Now, I did mention in my review that Hawkins' title as a magician kind of says that he's more of a technical fighter. I feel like he's more into getting into the head of his enemy rather than taking them head on. So I think initially Zoro and Luffy are gonna have a hard time figuring out what this guy's ability is, because even Kizaru wasn't exactly sure what he was when they first encountered him at Sabaody. Now, we don't exactly know what Hawkins' devil fruit power is. Some people say it's like a mythical voodoo man, but I think it's leaning towards the Paramecia class. Now, what we do know from his ability is that he has the ability to reflect or redirect any physical damage that is inflicted to him onto someone else using his voodoo dolls that he has. Now, this is a really broken ability when you think about it. Now, I'm pretty sure there's some sort of condition necessary before you can like plant a voodoo on someone, but it seems like he can use it on anyone, because during Sabaody, all of the damage that he took from Kizaru was reflected to people that weren't even affiliated with his crew. So I'm not sure what the limits are here. We know that he was able to store 10 dolls pre-time skip in Sabaody and hinted that he could actually, you know, store more. And given the fact that we had the 2-year time skip, it's no surprise that he would be able to store a lot more since all the supernovas are now stronger. Yeah, imagine having the ability to store 1,000 voodoo dolls. It's almost like being invincible, but there's some type of limit here because we know all devil fruits aren't like perfect. Even when Kaido landed on Kid's base, I was of the assumption that out of the 3 supernovas, Hawkins had the best chance to escape based on how his fruit works. But then again, I don't think Kaido would let him leave either way, and his crew was also there with him, so I guess he wouldn't want to sacrifice his crew members. Now, what we also know about his fruit is that there's a damage limit on each doll. That means once a certain damage is dealt, the voodoo breaks down. And so basically going with that statement, if the individual has enough durability to withstand the attacks that are being reflected from Hawkins, that means the voodoo doll will not be affected because said individual has the durability to tank those attacks. So basically the damage limit is based on the durability of said individual that he planted the voodoo on. And so this brings me to Kaido. Given the fact that Hawkins is now in an alliance with Kaido, I think there's a huge chance that he may have made an agreement with Kaido to make a voodoo doll based on him. And what we do know about Kaido is that he's known for his insane durability. And yes, I don't think Luffy and Zoro have attacks in their arsenal that could remotely hurt Kaido right now. I mean, we saw how bad it was with Big Mom to the point that nothing nothing could hurt Big Mom at all. They had to nerf her to some extent to even get a chance, and Kaido is hyped up to be more durable than Big Mom, and this is why I said that this would be only possible if Hawkins was allied with Kaido. And knowing that Kaido wants to kill himself, it's safe to say that he would most likely take Hawkins' offer. In a sense, Hawkins is sort of like a representation of Kaido because he has his voodoo doll with him. Now, while Hawkins could be invincible with Kaido's voodoo doll, it's not like he has anything else Kaido has. He only has his durability, and that's why I think it's going to be a stalemate, because I don't think Hawkins would have anything that would be able to put Luffy and Zoro down for the count. But I would definitely say that he has the advantage because Hawkins can focus more on attacking, because at the end of the day they can't really hurt him. And perhaps this is the reason Hawkins was so positive about taking both Zoro and Luffy on, because I always viewed Hawkins as a smart individual, but then again, during his encounter with Kizaru, he was one of the few to stick around, even though that they told him an admiral was going to show up. Also, it seems like Hawkins can see the probability of things that are gonna take place, so maybe he saw the probability of him winning against Luffy and Zoro, and that's why he chose to fight them. But if he does have Kaido's doll, that would be insane, because this is one of the few times we're actually seeing Hawkins in action. The last time we saw him during Tsubodi, he kind of got wrecked by Kizaru, and we didn't really see what he was truly capable of. I honestly don't think Oda would portray Hawkins in a bad light until he gets some type of battle feat or some hype. While it does look like Hawkins is about to get wrecked, it seems like he could show something overpowered with his ability. And moving the Kaido thing aside, even without Kaido's voodoo doll, Hawkins' ability is very hacks. Is there a chance he could actually place a voodoo doll on Zoro, and one that would reflect all of Luffy's attacks to Zoro? Luffy and Zoro are gonna have a hard time, and even if you do find out what Hawkins is doing, how exactly do you stop it? Again, I'm not here to shit on Luffy and Zoro, but if the enemy isn't exactly a straightforward fighter, I think they might struggle a bit, especially when it comes down to people like Hawk, because I think out of all the supernovas, he's the more difficult one to actually hurt because of his devil fruit. Now, I did mention in my review that they might not even fight given how Oda has done things in the past, but usually Oda would throw a huge wrinkle in there that no one would expect, and I feel like Hawkins having Kaido's doll would be a massive shock to the community. But I do think that Hawkins is eventually going to ally with the Straw Hats, given the fact that he told Kaido's crewmates not to report anything to Kaido, so he's definitely planning something. But I'm definitely hyped to see how this plays out, especially when it comes to Zoro, because it's been almost 2 years since we last saw this man in action. And for Luffy, I think I want to see Luffy show something that he learned from Katakuri. Again, I viewed his fight against Katakuri as a training session. Observation Haki might not be the only thing he learned from Katakuri. There could be more there. And Luffy was also wielding the Nidai Kitetsu in the last panel, so I do wonder if he's actually gonna fight with it, or if Zoro is gonna somehow take it away from him. The last time Luffy showed any form of swordsmanship was during Thriller Bark, when he had all those shadows absorbed into him, but who knows. And talking about the Nidai Kitetsu, Raven Knight pointed out in my comment section that given that the Nidai Kitetsu and the Sandai Kitetsu have the same hilts, it's safe to assume that the Shodai Kitetsu would also have the same hilts as well. Now, I didn't even notice till now, but apparently the Gandhi looking Gorosei actually has the same hilt on one of his swords, so this could be confirmation that he has the Shodai Kitetsu. Now, I did mention that the Shogun would have it, but it seems like he's gonna have one of the other 12 Owazamono. But that is pretty much it for the video, guys. Do you think it's possible for Hawkins to achieve this with his devil fruit, given the fact that he's now allied with Kaido? Is there a chance that he actually has Kaido's voodoo doll on him? Comment down below what you guys think. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe for more One Piece content on this channel. Hit the notification bell if you want to get notified for future content. It is Pharaoh, and I will see you guys later. Peace.